I know what you want. I know what the goal is, this healthy, lasting, beautiful relationship. Okay. Okay. What's your current fitness level? The quality of your love life is a reflection of what's going on inside of you.
Yeah.
You attract after your own kind. If I don't have very good relationship skills, then I'm going to attract someone who also is not very healthy. So you find that higher quality person not by knowing where to look for them, but by being that way.
Roy, welcome to Untangle. It's great to have you with us today.
No, it's good to be here. And I like that title, to untangle. That's
Right?
a lot of how we feel sometimes when it comes to relationships and finding a
Yeah.
partner and the whole thing. So, yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that today. And your book looks at so many different perspectives, but it's really a lot of discovering who you are yourself and finding your own inner person
Yeah.
before you find your outer person.
Right.
And I wanted to first understand, what was your inspiration for writing this book and for doing this work? You spend most
Yeah.
of your time
Right.
doing this work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What inspired you?
Yeah, I often joke that, as a little boy, I never dreamed of one day I want to grow up and be a relationship coach, right?
Right.
I wanted to be a baseball player and a fireman and all that kind of stuff when I was little. So
Yeah.
I never thought my life would take me in this direction. So I often joke also that I was forced into this job in a sense, into this
That's
career
interesting.
because of the disaster that my love life was for decades, right? So it's important, I think, for people listening to know that I come at this. Yes, I've had zillions of hours of training and expertise, but this is kind of a labor of love for me. I'm in this because I've been through it.
Yeah.
So I often joke that you remember that book in the movie, The Chronicles of Narnia, where Lucy wanders into the wardrobe closet and finds Narnia,
Yeah.
right? It's so amazing and wonderful
Yeah.
that she has to go back and tell her friends what she's found. So I'm sort of like Lucy, that I kind of wandered into something and I'm like, you guys gotta come see what I found. Because I was married for 19 years and that relationship really devolved into a kind of a co-parenting, platonic, functional relationship,
Hmm.
right? We lost our man-woman connection though. We lost our real romance together. And I don't think that was very satisfying for her. I know it wasn't for me. So I initiated a divorce, went through all that with a young kid. That was just a nightmare, but we were able to do it without a lot of drama and no lawyers. That helped. But then, of course, I made my first mistake. I rebounded immediately into another relationship. And of course, it was the opposite. Rebound usually means you bounce off in a different direction. So that relationship was almost like totally sexual, which at the time, for me, it was wonderful because it had been so long. But the mistake I made is I never took any time to introspect. I never asked myself any questions. I never asked, what was my part in what happened. I just sort of assumed it was my ex-wife's fault. She was just an asexual person or something like that. So I immediately rebounded into that relationship. We got engaged. We were together about 2.5 years. And about 6 months before the wedding, she dumped me. And Patricia, that one nearly killed me. That was probably the darkest moment that I've ever been through in my life. I mean, I had like a year-long midlife crisis. I mean, I couldn't sleep. I could barely eat. My career suffered. I became a lousy father, right? I had heart palpitations. I mean, I was an absolute mess. And that's why I made my second mistake. I took all that pain. I know you should laugh because it is kind of funny now. Back
Right.
then, I'm like,
Everything's
what are you
funny.
laughing at? Right. So I was in all this pain. I didn't know what to do with all this pain. I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to join like 4 different dating sites. I'm going to find me a new woman to help me forget about the last one. Now, you can imagine the amount of drama that caused because even though I felt like I was emotionally available, I mean, it was a joke. I was really using these other women to help me forget about the last one. I was single, but I wasn't available. So I was sending these mixed messages. And you can imagine the drama that caused. And it did. So at that point, I still never stopped to do any work on myself, to wonder what I could learn. None of that. I just assumed, okay, my ex-wife was blah, blah, my ex-fiance, blah, blah. And then all the women I met online, a bunch of crazy women out there, it's all that, right? It never occurred to me. This is how big my ego can be. Okay. It never occurred to me that maybe I had something to do with it, that maybe I was the common denominator in these pictures, right? I just assumed, here's the phrase, I just haven't met the right woman yet. That's why my love life isn't any good. That's why I can't make a relationship work. Even though my professional life was fine for the most part, I was doing great. My love life was a disaster. So I just haven't met the right woman yet. Okay. And it was around then that a friend of mine suggested, hey, Roy, maybe you should talk to someone. And my initial response to that was I didn't even understand the comment. I was like, why? Right? It made no sense to me. But I think I was in so much pain and I trusted my friend that I went ahead and I hired a coach. And I can tell you just very briefly, I think in either our first or second session, I worked with her for about a year and a half, which is a really long time in coaching. But I was really messed up, even though at the time I didn't know it. But I remember her telling me, Roy, if you just want to tell me about how your ex-wife was this and your ex-fiance was that and all the crazy women online, I'm out. I want to know if you want to look in the mirror. I want to know if you want to find out what you're unconsciously doing to attract all the nightmares in your life. I want to know if you want to take responsibility for what's going on. And for a while, I kicked and screamed about that. Like, how dare you blame me for all of this? You don't know my ex-wife. You don't know right? But she stood firm. I just want to know if you want to look in the mirror. If you don't, that's fine, but we can end it right now. And I think I gave in. There might have been something in the back of my mind that said, you probably should look in the mirror a little bit here. There might be something for you, Roy. Get your ego out of the way a little. And so I did. I started working with her and I started looking at the mirror. And the punchline of the whole thing is it really was me.
Yeah. That and no surprise there, right? You were like,
Well,
"Okay, I get this."
it
It's
really it's not a surprise now to recognize that whatever we're experiencing in our love life, we're doing it to ourselves. But back then it was a real surprise. And maybe we'll explore this at some point in our conversation. But I just discovered I had mommy issues, that I was
yeah.
playing out a dynamic I learned from between me and my mother in my adult relationships. And it was the reason why I was attracting the wrong women and getting into these patterns and these problems and this pain over and over again. But all of that was unknown to me until I was willing to look for what's unknown or unconscious. And so that's just a long way to say the reason I became a coach is to do for other people what my coach did for me. Like if you want to look in the mirror and drop the idea that your love life is not what you want it to be because you just haven't met the right person yet. If you're willing to drop that and open up to the possibility that you're living in your movie and you're writing the script and it's turning out the way it is because of something you're doing that you don't know you're doing, then I really feel that the transformation that happened in my life, because I very soon after working with my coach, I met, started dating, fell in love with, and married a woman. Our 17th wedding anniversary is coming up next month, right? And I didn't get lucky. The gods didn't smile on me. I did a particular kind of work on myself that's transferable. So I just tell people, if you do what I did, you can have the same results I got.
Well, what's really interesting about listening to your story is that so many of us don't have good relationship training. If you didn't have parents who modeled really loving, intimate relationships, if you meet someone and you feel like you have to dive into the cultural imperatives of getting married at a certain age, having a child, you don't, if you never take the time to uncover what's in your subconscious or what's driving all of your intimate and emotional decisions, then you get to a place where you have spent a
Right,
lot of time, like without that
right.
modeling and without the training.
Right, you're bringing up something that is it's so obvious and we're really not doing anything about it, which is two of maybe the most important things that we ever do in our lives. Be in a relationship and be a parent are things that we have no training for
No
whatsoever.
training. So interesting. I always think when I've interviewed several people on relationships and I'm always thinking, you should be giving little mini courses in kindergarten.
Correct.
You should be giving like we should we should have more training on what it means
Right.
to give someone else space, to listen deeply, to do more introspection, have more self-aware, like these mindfulness,
Right,
but
right,
so much, but we don't
exactly.
learn it until we're in trouble, like you were in trouble
Right,
and you finally recognize that you were in trouble.
right. We come out of school, oh, I know my chemistry, I know my biology, but I
Yeah,
can't relate to another human being without drama.
yeah, yeah.
And it's such a huge part of our lives. So I don't even joke about this. I really do kind of call myself a relationship trainer. Not I'm not really a therapist or something like that. I train people on what it means to live and love consciously. What does it mean to be a mindful person in your life and in your relationships? Because I just believe that there are two paths in life, I think. And I boy, you could point to whether it's Buddha or Jesus and say that they saw the same thing, that there's these two paths, and I just call them the conventional path, the conventional wisdom, what our culture tells you about men and women and dating and relationships and the way it's supposed to work. That is in your face every day in media, television, movies, magazines, you just name it. But then there's this conscious approach, and it's completely different. It operates by different values, it has different principles, and it has different outcomes. So I'm not saying like one's right and one's
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just saying one works and one doesn't in my experience. So I'm just trying to show people here is the conscious approach to attracting a partner, or here is the conscious approach to creating a sustainable, lasting, healthy relationship. These are the commitments. These are the values. Do you want to align your life with them? And if you do, I'll train you on how to do it that way. But I often say you can't play both of these games. It's the conventional and the conscious is a little bit like going to a park on a Saturday morning. You can't play soccer and basketball at the same time, right?
Okay.
Soccer, you play with your feet. You can't use your hands. Basketball, you can't kick the ball. You have to use your hands, right? So you can't play both games. You have to decide what game you want to play. And that's kind of what I do as a coach. Like, here are these two games. You've been playing the conventional one your whole life. Which is what I was doing. That's why your love life isn't working.
So let me ask you a
If you want to
question.
play the other game, though, we could talk about that. But you can't mix them because they're so opposite.
But you talk about in the book, you talk about a relationship fitness self assessment test and how we discover if we're ready to be in a relationship, to be dating, or how are we in the relationship that we have? How do we find out if we're in your parlance in shape or out of shape for a
Yeah.
relationship?
Yeah, I do use that terminology, get yourself in relationship shape, just because one of my pet peeves is relationship conversations are often very clinical and they're very shrink speak. And it's not that the information's bad, it's just it's not presented in a way that people can kind of get their head around it and apply it. So I like to talk about there's 7 relationship muscles that we have. And if those muscles are nice and strong, you're going to do well in relationships. If they're not, if you're sort of out of shape, you're going to have a lot of drama and codependency and discord in your love life. So, yeah, I do have something called the Relationship Fitness Self Assessment Test. It's
Yeah.
a 30-question true false test. Take you 3-5 minutes to take. It helps you identify like what's your current fitness level. Because I often joke, if you went to the gym and hired a personal trainer, if they're any good at all, the first thing they do is run you through a bunch of assessments to kind of see, okay, what's your current condition? I know where you want to get to. What are your goals? But I got to know what I'm starting with so I can put a plan together to get you in shape. I do that with my clients or really with anyone. I know what you want. I know what the goal is, this healthy, lasting, beautiful relationship. Okay. Okay. What's your current fitness level? Because, Patricia, all of this is based on the assumption, which I believe is true, is that the quality of your love life is a reflection of what's going on inside of you.
Yeah.
You attract after your own kind, right? The law of attraction, which is so misused, but all it means is like attracts like. So if I'm not very healthy in here, if I don't have very good relationship skills, then I'm going to attract someone who also is not very healthy. You'll never be in a relationship with someone who is healthier than you or less healthy than you. You always attract someone who's on your level of consciousness. So if people say, I want to attract let's say a woman, I want to attract a man of real depth and character, and he's trustworthy and he's on his game, and he's that kind of guy. The way you find him is not by saying, where is he? Where does he go on Saturday night? Or what online platform does he use? The way you find him is the healthier you get yourself, the more you will be on that vibrational level, that wavelength. So you find that higher quality person not by knowing where to look for them, but by being that way, right?
But do you think that you can teach someone else just by the work that you yourself do? So let's say someone's done a lot of their
Absolutely.
own work, they meet someone and maybe they're not as emotionally intelligent, but they have all of these other really quite lovely qualities. How do you so they're not equal in the same categories, but they're both, people that want to be in a relationship and in a healthy relationship.
Yeah. Well,
I think it's common. Oh, I think people come from different places, especially if you're older. Younger, it's a little bit, I mean, you are coming from different places because you've had different experiences with your family. And I don't think you have the consciousness yet to
correct,
know.
correct, right. So if you find yourself attracted to someone and someone's attracted to you, you might have different issues, but you're playing at the same level regarding those issues, right? So you just are never going to be attracted to someone who is not on your level, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. You might think so, but you say, well, they're not emotionally available, but I might find something going on with you that is equally dysfunctional. Maybe not in the same way as them, but you've got something going on in your own life that's making you interested in somebody who's emotionally unavailable. Like, why are you attracted to that? See that?
Now, emotionally unavailable is different than emotional intelligence, I think. I mean,
True, it can be,
think
but
so
either
when
one,
you,
we can switch it up. If
yeah,
you're, I would say, if a person says, I keep attracting men or women who are not very emotionally intelligent,
yeah,
I would say, so what's going on with you that you're attracted to that?
yeah, that's a good point.
What do you not see about yourself? Right? So you might have emotional intelligence, but you've got something else going on that is making you be at the same level as them. Right? So it's like, I don't know how to come up with an analogy of this. You could have two people in the emergency room and they're not injured in the same way, but they're both injured. I might have a broken arm and you've got some sort of, you cut yourself, like my wife cut herself opening a box. So we had to take her to the she cut her hand pretty bad, had to take her to ERs. Different problems, but they're both, I hate to say it, they're both messed up. They're both injured, right? So I'm just trying to help the listener get out of the mentality that I had, which is the reason my love life isn't any good is because of them,
Right,
right?
right.
That's There's a couple of major mistakes people make in their pursuit of intimacy. And that is, the first one is they put their attention on them. Where do I find them? What do I want in them? What platforms do I use to find them? How do I approach them? How do I get them to approach me? How do I flirt with them? It's about them. That's the mistake. It is not about them. What's going on in you is being mirrored back to you, right? It's not them. They're showing up in your movie because you're manifesting them, right? So it's useless to be thinking about them. The issue is how am I sabotaging myself? How am I unaware of my blind spots? How my childhood conditioning is attracting certain things and making me attracted to certain things? What type of relationship persona am I perhaps animating that is responsible, right? So it's really this curiosity about what is happening unconsciously in me, but yet producing fruit. So
Right.
it's not
So
about them.
what
It's
you
about waking up to yourself.
and your efforts to take people through the boot camp or take them through the book are to bring your unconscious into your conscious so
Correct.
you can be more self-aware. So you say that there are 7 really important relationships within yourself that must be in place
Right.
for you to
Strong.
have a
Right.
relation must be what must be there,
Yes.
right?
Right.
Yeah. So let's go through those because they're all about strengthening our relationships to different areas of our own lives. And I found a lot of connection to mindfulness, of course. Your first one is strengthening your relationship to reality, where you're saying, we need to be in harmony with how life is unfolding. Sounds to me like, being in sync with the present moment. But talk more about that.
Right. Right. Yeah. So the whole idea is trying to use fitness terms to describe a relationship dynamic, which sometimes is hard to describe. Yeah, I came up with what are 7 areas of our lives that need to be functioning at a high level if we want to have an extraordinary relationship. I often tell people if you just want a mediocre relationship, you don't need any training for that. That's easy. Right.
That's easy.
If you want something really awesome, then that means getting in really good shape. And there's 7 areas of our life that need to be functioning at a pretty high level. And so I call them our relationship to these various parts of our lives. And the first one, yeah, is your relationship to reality itself. And there's a couple dimensions to it, but the one you're talking about is how much we live in resistance or anger or fear or frustration with our current reality, with the way life is showing up for us right now. And what I mean by that is how a person feels about the fact that they are single is a huge issue. Most people, if they're over the age of 35 or 40, are not happy with being single. They don't like it. They have their sort of their, like, what's wrong? They kind of almost have a resistance to the reality that they're 45 years old and they're single. Life shouldn't be this way. I don't like this. I don't like being single. Right. And what I what I point out, I think, is what people naturally understand is that if you're looking for a relationship and you're coming from a place of, I'm not happy being single, it's not okay being single. Dating is this and dating is that. And if you're coming from a real resistance to the way your life is in this moment, you are not going to be an attractive person. You're either going to start trying too hard when you meet someone, or you're just going to have an attitude. Man, I am heterosexual. I want a man, but I hate men because, they're right. It's very easy to have a lot of attitude about the opposite sex, about dating chips, especially if you've been hurt a little bit. And so you have a lot of resistance to what is, to the way life is in this moment. And it makes you sort of unattractive. But if you're in a place where, okay, I never thought I would be 45 or 50 or 55 and single. Okay. But there's nothing wrong. God hasn't forgot about me. It's okay. I'm okay. I'd like to meet someone, but I have no resistance to this. And when you're like that, you're going to be much more playful and relaxed when you meet someone. You won't come on too strong. You won't try too hard because being single is not a problem that you're trying to solve. That's probably the issue.
Yeah,
Is
I get
people think
that.
I'm
Yeah.
single, that's a problem and I need to fix it. And that creates a certain energy that's just not very sexy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think what you're saying is you lose all the playfulness. And, so many of the people that I know that are single are really happy being single. They love their lives. They've made an effort to do all of the things that they're really passionate about. And if someone comes along, that's great.
There you go. Then
And
in terms
that's a
of the first
great,
thing, they're in pretty good shape then.
yeah. Okay. So I'm going to let them know that they're good with that. Anything else you want to say about the first one?
We could
The
spend an
reality.
hour on the first one,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
I mean, there's a chapter in the book where I talk about what's the real reason you're single, or what's the real reason you want a relationship in the first place. Trying to get at reality, like what's really going on inside of you.
Yeah.
But maybe we touch on some of the other ones just so people get a
Okay.
little picture of
So they get a
yeah,
little microdose of the
yeah,
protocol.
right.
Yeah. So then your next one is strengthening your relationship to the mind. This is where you bring in mindfulness, monkey business, which I'm assuming is the monkey mind, and this idea of meditation and how do we learn to trust our own feelings. And yeah, so talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Yeah. The mind is a wonderful thing, but most of the time it really is your worst enemy. So when I'm talking about your relationship to your mind and to your thinking, I talk about the fact that most of us seem to have a relationship coach that lives in our head. And it's always telling you why people are doing things, what they're up to. It's always coming up with theories about men and women. The mind is always going to try to give you a reason why something is the way it is. And it's just making stuff up. Like listening to your mind is like listening to a financial advisor who's been wrong a zillion
Right.
times and you keep taking the person's advice, right? Most of us don't ever
It's a
hold
good
our
one.
own minds accountable for how wrong we are. Something happens and, oh, that person's not calling me because, they're not interested, or they're not asking me for a second date because I'm intimidating. I have a good job, a good career, and they're intimidated. That's why they're not asking me out for a second date, right? And then 3 days later, they call you like, "Oh my God, my something happened to my mother. I had to go out of town, and take care of it, but I'm really wanting to see you again." You never stop and go back to your mind and say, "Why the hell do I ever listen to you?" Because I just made myself suffer and worry and question myself because I believed my thoughts, right? Most of us believe our thoughts, and we're almost always wrong
Yeah, we
about
talk
them.
about that a lot on our show, how your thoughts are not always true,
Yeah,
and it's a
hardly ever.
really hardly ever.
One of my
Okay, good.
favorite
Good
spiritual
to know.
teachers is Michael Singer, and
Huh?
he famously said, "I'd rather listen to a magic 8 ball than listen to my mind." Well, so our mind, it, I talk about these different ways it functions. It can function like a secret service agent, especially if you've been hurt in the past or some things have happened to you. The Secret Service is always around whoever they're guarding, the president,
Yeah.
and they're watching for anything. They're looking for the first sign of trouble. And if anything's going on, they're going to take their person and whisk them away to safety. Our minds are like that, is that we're suspicious. We're looking around. Like, what are you up to? What does that mean? I think maybe you have these kind of motives. Are you a player? You're not very emotionally intelligent, right? It's looking for problems. It's looking for danger because maybe you've been hurt in the past. So it's going to try to look for danger. And as soon as it's interpreting there's a real threat, which there might not be, it's going to whisk you away. I'm never going to talk to them again. I'm not going to see them again because your mind scared you about something rather than
What
maybe
what
ask them.
what's the difference? Maybe ask them. What a novel idea. What's the difference between trusting your intuition, which is partly, your gut and partly your mind, and telling your mind you're not gonna listen anymore
Right.
because it's redirecting you?
Yeah. Well, great question. Geez, how much time do we have? Okay. So, well, there are 3 centers of intelligence in us. There is head intelligence, heart intelligence, gut intelligence. Okay. They're all valuable. They they all have some wisdom, except left to themselves, they're incomplete. Okay. So when a person says, "I'm just going to trust my thinking," sometimes what happens is their gut instincts says something different than what their logic or their pros and cons is saying. Or they say, "Oh, my heart tells me this," but then their head says, I'm not so sure. And so all 3 centers are not aligned. They don't have what's called a whole body yes, right? There's a glitch,
There's a
right?
glitch.
So if a person just says, "I'm just trusting my gut," I'm like, "Oh, you're in trouble." Because your gut is totally based on your history. There is no like special wisdom in your gut instinct or your intuition. It's based on what you've been through in the past. So you haven't been through everything. You haven't experienced everything in the universe. You've only experienced what you've experienced. And what you've experienced is not representative. It's not a big enough sample size to trust. So you want to if you want to trust yourself, and you should, you only trust yourself when all 3 centers are aligned. My head says this makes sense. My heart, my emotional center says this feels right. My gut instinct, that visceral knowingness says we're all yes here. Then you can trust. But if one of them is barking at you, it's often like if you're in a corporation, you have a big board meeting and there's a big decision that the company has to make. We're going to acquire a new company or something like that. And all your board members there, you're going to be in trouble if you decide to buy a company or do something. If 1 or 2 of those board members are like, "I don't know, man. I've looked at the numbers. I'm not sure." Everybody else is, "Oh, it's good. It's good." And they're like, something about this doesn't feel right. If you override that, most of the time it's going to come back to bite you. And I know that's true in our bodies. If you override one of these centers, one of them is barking at you, say, "I'm not so sure about this," and you run right through that, most of the time you'll say, "You know what? I should have listened to myself. There was a part of me that wasn't really on board with this, and I went
Mm,
ahead and did it anyway." Right? So this is deep stuff. I mean, this needs
yeah.
so much other explanation and caveats and, well, what about this and what about that? But this idea that you're going to trust one center, it's got more wisdom than anything else, I think just going to get you in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, think that there's some level of compromise or having the experience in order to get more of the answer that you're looking for. So what I hear you saying is, okay, let's say you're dating someone and you get into a relationship and you're not sure, but you don't want to trust your not sureness. So get more information, gather more data, go out on a couple dates, but you've got to
Well,
like eventually
what if you actually
have,
spoke to the person your exact question? What if you
well,
shared with them how you were doubting them? Like, what if you go on a couple dates with someone, a woman says, "I'm not sure if this guy's a player." Like, I know I'm attracted to him. I kind of want to have sex, but I kind of think he's going to hit it and quit it. I don't know about that. So what do I do? Do I trust my gut instinct that he's a player, or do I trust my gut instinct that I think this is going to work out and go ahead? I would say, why don't you look them straight in the eye and say, I have thoughts over here that you might be a player and that I'm going to get my heart broken because I'm attracted to you and I kind of want to have sex with you. But there's something in me that's wondering, are you for real or are you just going to hit it and quit it? What if you just said it right to his face? Because it is what you're thinking. Because people always
so
say, Roy, I want this authentic relationship. I want honesty and openness and transparency. Really? Do you know what that means? That means living out loud. That means you would
interesting.
tell him that
Yeah.
I don't know if I can trust you. And then you see what he says.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to trust the answer, obviously,
Yeah.
right?
Well, you
There's
would get you'll get an answer. And if the answer makes you whatever the reaction you have to his answer, you share that.
you have yeah, so
Okay,
you
now
have
that
more
you've
information.
yeah, now that you've said that to me, okay, now, boy, I feel better. Or now I'm feeling a little bit right. So the commitment, if you want to live consciously and mindfully, is I'm going to reveal what's going on inside of me. Like if you're around me, you're never going to have to guess what's going on in Royville because I'm not hiding it. I'm not going to play any games. I'm not going to show you what I think you'll like and maybe not tell you about things you won't like. I'm just going to be I'm going to blurt. I'm going to be raw. I'm going to be real. You're going to know how I feel about you. If I'm angry, you'll know. If I'm
Yeah,
excited, you're going to know. If I'm
yeah,
sad, you're going to know. If I'm scared, you're going to know. And when you do that, it takes a lot of these questions clear themselves up because when you say what's going on for you, they're going to say something back,
yeah.
right?
I think there's a lot there's like, to your point, there's you could go on and on with each of these things because I think people often don't trust their own, thoughts or feelings to be able to say, "Here's what I'm feeling." So I think there's, like, training on that level
Right,
too.
because that person could just say, "I don't know if I should trust this thought or this feeling. What I
Right.
do know is true is I have it. I
Yeah,
don't know what it means. I don't know if it's true or not, but
yeah.
I do know I feel anxious. I do know I have thoughts about X, Y, or Z. That's unarguable that it's going on. I but I don't know what it means, and but I thought you should know."
Fair, totally fair. Okay, wait. Let's go on to because I feel like these all are interconnected.
Yeah,
So I want to keep us moving on the next one, which I think we're already talking about, which is strengthening your relationships to your own feelings. And I really liked how you said, learning to be with your feelings, whatever they are. I don't know if you always should share your feelings. I don't know if I completely agree with that because I think boundaries are often helpful
well,
sometimes.
it just depends on what you're talking about, right? I mean,
Right.
we have
Yeah.
so many feelings all the time. You walk around
Right.
telling the
Yeah.
people close to you every single feeling you have. That
That
might be a
no.
little weird.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
mostly the relationship to your feelings is more about how you are with your own feelings. So it's all about emotional intelligence. Do you avoid your feelings or do you feel them?
Yeah.
That's it. That's the
Yeah.
training.
And do you think so when you're connecting with your feelings, do a lot of the people that come to you feel deeply because they're there, they're ready to do the work, but often have a hard time articulating the feeling, right? You feel it, but you're like, how do I communicate this?
Right. Some people have a difficulty knowing what they feel.
Right.
Other
Yeah.
people know what they feel, but they don't know how to work with that feeling, maybe learn its lessons and let it go, right?
Yeah.
So
That's a
very
good
often
point.
our bodies, we have sensations, tightness, contractions in places in our bodies that can help us understand what we feel. There are certain centers of your body, like for instance, in your solar plexus, in your tummy area. Usually if you're feeling anxious or scared, you're going to feel it there. That's why we say there's butterflies in your stomach. Because when fear comes up, we often feel it in our belly. We often feel sadness in our chest or our throat. I'm all choked up. I have a broken heart. So when we feel, someone says, I'm not sure what I feel. I'm okay, what's happening in your sensations? What do you feel in your body? So I feel a lot of heaviness and pressure in my chest, and I kind of find it hard to breathe. Okay, well, let's investigate if you're feeling sad, right? Now, this is a huge issue because culturally, even though we're trying to progress as a human race. I don't know if we're making much progress, but we're trying. Usually women are brought up in environments where it's not okay for them to be angry. It's okay for a little girl to be sad, but you can't get angry. You'll be a little bitch, right? So women are sometimes still taught to suppress anger, right? Little boys, hey, big boys don't cry. Don't be a pussy, right? So men, little boys are often still trained to bury sadness. So sometimes it's difficult to know what am I really feeling because I've totally X'd out sadness from my
Yeah.
vocabulary, but I might really be sad, but I don't have any access to it. Or you can see a woman saying, I'm so angry and she's crying. So wait a minute, right. It doesn't look like anger because something in her won't allow her, So this issue of knowing what you're actually feeling is the first step, right? Then how do you feel that feeling all the way through to completion? And how do you let it move through your body? I often describe a human being as like a house. You got a front door and a back door. If you're emotionally intelligent, both doors are wide open. So the feeling can come in the front door. I'll feel you, right? Most people have their front door closed. I don't want to feel that. I'm distracting, I'm medicating, I'm avoiding. They won't even let a feeling come in. But when you're healthier emotionally, it's like the wind. Come in and I'll experience you. I'll smell you. I'll feel you. Stay with me. I'll sit with you. I'll be with you. But the back door's open. You come in, I'll experience you. Out you go. And I'm ready for the next feeling, the next experience, right? So when you're healthy, they can come in, but some people have the back door closed. Feelings come in, I can never let them go. They spiral in me. I get lost in them. They twist me and I get depressed or I go into, right? I can never let anything go. It's like, guys, your back door's closed.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of some of the work I do with people because if you're not emotionally intelligent, you have a hard time relating with another human because we're such emotional creatures, even us men who are prone to be a little shut down in that area. There's a lot
Yeah.
going on
There's
inside
a
of
lot
us.
going on.
Yeah,
Yeah. I completely agree with that. This kind of ties into the next one, which is strengthening your relationship to the past, which is really what you really talk about is kind of letting go of the baggage of the
right.
past. Yeah.
It's probably the most important relationship muscle we have is our relationship to our past. It's the darkest and hardest one to work with. As a coach, I feel like it's one of my specialties. But most of us, well, I often joke that the only people that don't have baggage are the little babies in the maternity ward. Okay. It's like, it's not wrong to have baggage or a past. All of us have been hurt. We've been lied to, ghosted, gaslighted, betrayed, deceived. Some of us have been through major trauma in our past and our childhood. So we all have a past. We all have scars and wounds and pain from our past. The issue is your past merely something that happened or is it happening, right? Is your past still alive in you? And for most people, it is still alive in them. And then what happens, because my past is alive in me, I'm going to be suspicious. I'm going to be guarded. I'm going to have trust issues, right? I'm not going to relate with you with an open, available heart. It's going to be like, I try to use humor so that we can get our heads around this stuff, but be like, you're good. If your past is alive in you, you're going to end up in a menage a trois from hell. It's going to be me and you, Patricia, and my past. All three of us are being in this relationship. Actually, it's more like a menage a quad. It's me
Right.
and my past, you and your past, and the four of us are doing this, right? Because when your past is alive in you, it comes between you and this new person. You're going to hold them accountable for it in some way or slow the relationship down because of what happened in the past or be suspicious or guarded. And this other person isn't them, but yet they're having to deal with that. And I just tell people that I haven't met any good quality man or woman who brings a sledgehammer to a date. They don't want to break down your walls. They
Yeah.
don't. Like, I mean, if I meet someone and I see there's walls there and she's been hurt and I can feel something's going on, I'm being held responsible for something. There's something between us. I'm not going to
Yeah.
fight that. I'm going to go to that girl over there who's got her arms wide open. Let's dance. Right. So the healthy place is my arms are wide open. I'm not dating with my arms crossed. Right. My arms are wide open. That doesn't mean I don't have boundaries. It's just, as soon as you show me that you're an asshole, I'm kicking you in the balls and you're down the road. Right.
Yeah.
But before that, I'm not resistant. I'm trusting, I'm open, I'm available until you show me I shouldn't be. But most people, they start a relationship like I'll trust you when you prove yourself to me, right? So you have to prove that I should take down my wall, let go of my guardedness. And I just don't know if very many good men and women want to prove themselves to someone. Oh, I'm not going to prove myself to you.
Yeah. It's
So this is not to shame anybody with some baggage because we've been cheated on, we've been betrayed and lied to and stuff. It's just you gotta deal with that.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
gotta clear away. So your past is just something that happened, but it's not happening, right? That
Yeah. Because it
is
drives
the
yeah.
biggest, deepest thing we could ever really get into.
Yeah, it drives all your triggers. Let's look at so your last 3, I think they're connected,
They
but
are.
you can tell me
They're all
truth.
connected.
Well,
You're just
yes.
one person.
Strengthening your relationship to truth, strengthening your relationship to energy, and strengthening your relationship to love.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we already talked about your relationship to truth, your inner truth. It's
Yes.
all about, do you want to be a revealer or a concealer? Most people play games in relationships. I want to say or do or show something that I think you'll like and sort of hide the things that I think you won't like. And because we want to be liked, we want people to want to be with us and want to connect with us. And it's very easy to kind of get in your head and start to calculate, what should I say? How should I say it? What should I reveal? What should I say so that I can control the outcome of this? Right. So communication is a huge area. Your inner energy is really more about the things that make you feel alive and make you feel present and, I believe, desirable, right?
That's the playfulness we were talking
Yeah,
about before
yeah,
of
yeah. When you're
spacious.
not
Yeah.
managing your inner energy, your Shakti, as the Hindus call it, right? You're going to feel more dark. You're going to feel more down. You're not going to feel as enthusiastic, right? So there's a number of things I talk about with my clients about how to feel alive, how to feel, enthusiasm and passion. And because when you meet someone who's happy and alive and passionate and enthusiastic, it's like, wow, I'm going to get me some of that, right?
Yeah.
Versus someone who's withdrawn and dark and feels down and depressed. And again, this isn't to shame any of us. We all go through these things, but the more alive we feel, the more attractive we become. And then the last one, because I know we're getting short on time, is it's a huge one.
It is.
Your relationship to love itself. Most of us, we all grow up in an environment, and whether we know it or not, we're learning a little bit about, we're developing stories about love based upon what we see, what we're experiencing. So one of the things that we need to do if we're going to operate consciously is to identify what are our love stories. Does love mean power? Like maybe you grew up in a home where there was a power dynamic. One person lorded over the family, everybody else was walking on eggshells or was kind of, you saw one parent was dominant, the other one was submissive, right? Maybe you saw that relationship was about compromise. It's one of the biggest ones, that you looked at your family of origin and somebody was giving up themselves and sort of losing themselves, and it was all about one other person, right? So if we grow up in environments and we're seeing it, we develop this, well, this is what it means to be in a relationship. This is what it's going to be like. If you think love is about compromise, well, there's a part of you that's going, I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to get in a relationship and then have to give up things that are important to me and who I am. So we end up developing a hidden resistance to a relationship because in our minds, even though the part of me wants a relationship, there's a part of me that says, if it's going to be like that, I don't want it. A woman has to be submissive, and no wonder why she's single. Why would she want to let herself get into that if that's what she thinks it means? So we have these ideas of what intimacy is and what it means. And we only know that from what we've witnessed and seen in our lives. And if it's not a pretty picture, then there'll be a part of you that says, I got my foot on the brake.
So
I don't want this. So
what
you
is
have to work through those stories.
yeah, well, what is rewriting quickly? What does rewriting your love story look like? What do you ask
Yeah,
people to do?
right. You identify the story and then you say, you know what? I want to challenge that story. Is it true that love is compromise? People always say that, love is, go to some wedding anniversary, somebody's 50th anniversary. What's your secret? We learn to compromise. Garbage. That, to me, compromise is a lose-lose thing. I'm going to get a little less than I want. You get a little less than you want. And let's try to manage so there's an equal amount of everybody losing a little bit, right? So you can rewrite your what you think love is, saying, could it be possible that I could be in a relationship and not have to compromise anything of importance to me? That I don't have to lose anything? That maybe I could be in a relationship and I become more of me, and this relationship encourages me and almost demands of me that I be and do and express myself in the ways I have always wanted to be. So now my love story is being with a partner makes my life better. It's going to make me more of who I am. It's going to free me up more to express my creativity and my passions and my interests. I'm not getting in. She ain't no ball and chain. I'm not getting held back. I don't have to compromise and give up things and desires and things I've always wanted to do in order to be with you, right? I mean, I've been married 17 years. There is absolutely nothing that I give up by being in this relationship. Zero. Not even sex with other women. I don't want to live that way. I choose to be faithful to my wife. I'm not giving up my sexuality to be with her. I'm not compromising anything. I don't want to be that way. I'm choosing it. So I do anything I want to do.
Yeah.
And damn it, she better too. I've told people, if my wife ever said, I'm not pursuing this or going in this direction or wanting to explore this interest because I don't think it would go over well with you and it would, oh my, you want to talk about come to Jesus conversation. No, if I'm in your life and it's keeping you from something, we shouldn't be together. The individuals in a relationship are more important than the relationship itself. The relationship is, the idea is by being together, we are better than we would be apart, right? So if that's what I think a relationship can be, I'm open to it. But most of us have this hidden thought, I'm going to get a ball and chain. I'm going to get married. I can't hang out with my friends. I can't do my hobbies as much. I can't spend my money the way I want. I can't go where I want, do what I want. So there'll be a part of you that says, I don't want to be in some relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope most people don't feel that way.
God, they do.
Because that sounds like they feel
Right.
trapped.
Well, the
also.
main part about this is that if a person is single and doesn't want to be, it's because they have an unconscious resistance to a relationship. It's not that they haven't met the right person yet. It's not that they haven't gotten lucky. It's that they have a foot on the brake. They are keeping themselves single for some reason. So when I work with someone, that's the goal. Not how do you find a partner? How are you keeping yourself single? How are you sabotaging yourself in a way that you don't know it? So let's just bring that out into the light. Then we can deal with it. And once you do that, well, then the foot comes off the brake and then the gas pedal will work. You can take your life where you want it to go because you're not actually resisting it. Yeah, it's good. It's good, deep work.
It's a lot. There's a lot here, and I feel like we just really scratched the surface. But is there any like one last message or one last workout? Because you have workouts in all of your sessions.
Yeah.
Is there anything that if you took away nothing else, you would want us to take away?
Back to the very beginning. If you take away nothing else, drop the idea that you are single because you just haven't met the right person yet. It's not that. Open up to the idea that you are actually keeping yourself single. You're resisting it in some unconscious way. And so Carl Jung, famous Swiss psychiatrist, said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you'll call it fate.
Yep. I love that quote. I love that quote.
That is one of the most profound things ever said by a human being.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good
so
one.
make the unconscious conscious.
Yeah.
Because it's not fate. It's not, you're just, oh, I'm just not getting lucky. It's just a numbers game. No, it ain't. You're doing it to yourself. Right. So
All
That's what
right.
I do as a coach.
Okay. Well, that sounds like it's a fascinating process, and I've learned a lot today. So thank you so much, Roy. I really appreciate you being with
Yeah.
us.
Thanks for having me. Wonderful.
Yeah.